Hello, welcome back to Whole Lotta Heart. I'm your host, Kayla, and today's episode is a really personal one for me. I want to tell you the story of my losing my mom. This is the first time I've ever shared this with anyone, but I think it's time to. And also in this episode, I want to talk about how grief presents itself in more ways than just those deep crying sessions you have in sadness, because it's messy, it's weird, it's layered, and surprising sometimes too. So without further ado, let's get into it. So to set the scene, the story starts back in 2020, which was the craziest, scariest year in my lifetime because, COVID-19 was taking over and causing so much damage to so many people, and quickly too. I had never experienced such a scare like that in my life, where we were in a full-blown pandemic. And there was just so much uncertainty surrounding everything, such a weird time, and it affected everyone around me. I couldn't see family and friends who I saw on a regular basis, and well, you know what that felt like. You couldn't hang out or do anything. Everyone had started working remotely, and I had just graduated from grad school in May of 2019, so I was still in my first cycle at my job, still learning the job, so that was a lot happening personally. I worked in higher ed. And higher ed was definitely impacted during COVID. And, many at the college I worked at were let go. So not only the fear of COVID-19 itself, but the fear and uncertainty of a possible job loss was looming over me. And, I must admit, I was able to maintain my mental health. And most of the time I was very happy and in good spirits, but everything was still so different. And at the time, I still lived at home with my mom, so I was very grateful to not have to worry much about financials. I will say that I enjoyed the time working from home. It just gave me a change of scenery from my office, which I did not have a window at the time. I was happy to, be able to increase my productivity at home and at work. And I got to spend a lot of time with my mom, which was great because prior to COVID, I was always on the go, so it did make me slow down and just enjoy being more chill. And to be honest, looking back, that was probably the best thing that came out of COVID for me was the almost 24 hours a day with my mom. So let's fast forward to October 2020. Things were beginning to open back up slightly. Businesses were starting to let people come shop, and many companies were running great deals to, recover from COVID loss and incentivize customers to come in. So my mom and I decided we were going to get the kitchen floors redone. We had gotten the roof redone in July of 2020, so we decided to continue with our small remodels. So we went to the flooring store to get an estimate and pick out the flooring that we liked. And we walked into the store together, and I noticed that my mom's shirt was twisted. You could see her cleavage. So I went to fix it, and I said, "Child, you just can't be letting the girls out like this." And when I grabbed her shirt to fix it, I could feel the hardness of her breast. And I immediately said, "What is that?" And she said to me, very calmly, "Kayla, we'll talk in the car." When I tell you my stomach immediately knotted up, I couldn't focus on anything that the flooring worker was trying to tell us or anything that he was trying to show us. He gave us a quote. I couldn't tell you how much he quoted us. I just kept thinking, oh my gosh, what was that? And, we got to the car and I couldn't hold it in anymore. I don't even think I closed my door all the way. Before I was just like, "Mom, what was that?" And she remained very calm and comforting, but she said, "Kayla, I went to the doctor and got it confirmed, but I have breast cancer. I talked to the doctor and we will be beginning treatment within the next week or so." Tears immediately fall down my face because you're never ready to hear that your loved one has cancer. You hear more sad stories than happy ones, so your mind immediately goes to that. And she tells me that she is a little scared, but she is trusting in God for her healing. And we are a Christian family, and my mom was so strong and unwavering in her faith in Jesus. So at least in front of me, she did not let fear get the best of her, and she was really in good spirits. I asked her, though, why did she wait so long to go to the doctor? And the breast was hard. And she admits that she was scared. You never want to hear the doctor tell you that you have the C word. That's what she said to me. But she said that she was standing on the word of God and not allowing the devil to bring her down in this moment. And, this is when the devil does try to show up. He makes you scared and he tries to shake the foundation of your relationship and your faith. But she wasn't having any of that, okay? She was standing very firm, and I was really proud of her for that. And I admired her strength in that moment. She began treatment a few weeks after that and was doing fine for the first few months. I could see that the treatment was beginning to make her body weak, and she was having, less energy to do the things that she loved and things that she would normally do regularly, like cook dinner or go to the Dollar Tree and look through all the cute trinkets, or even take me to work, which she loved to do. Of course, she would say she was fine, and I can see that she wasn't fully herself, but that was to be expected. We knew that going into the treatment. July of 2021 came, and on July 6th, we had to rush her to the hospital. Out of respect for my mom and her privacy, I will spare some of the specific details, but we had learned that her cancer had spread, and it was no longer only in the breast, but in her brain and her arms. She was not herself. We did as much treatment as we possibly could. Like, she went in for multiple rounds of radiation, to try and eliminate the cancer in her body, or at least reduce it at that time once we discovered that it had spread. And, after going for a couple of rounds of radiation, we were able to bring her home at the end of July, maybe around the 24th or so. And it was just my sister and I, and it's just the two of us. We did an amazing job working together, I must say, to care for her once she got home, because she needed 24-hour care. And my sister and I worked our little system we created, working half days of work, working remotely when we could, because we wanted to be the ones to take care of our mama. We didn't want to have anyone doing that. We knew what she would want. And we had her home for about 2 weeks. And then we had to take her back to the hospital. It is August now, and we have been in the hospital for a few days. And we talked to the doctor. The doctor tells us basically that she is beginning to transition, and we should prepare for that. My heart sank. I know my sisters did too, and after that, I could not focus on much. I did not hear anything the doctor said after that point, and I'm so grateful for my sister for being my rock in that moment, because literally just memories of me and my mom started flooding my mind. I was so close to my mom, especially after my parents' divorce. It has always been me and her. Yes, my sister and my dad were always in my life, and they were always there, but my mom and I just had a special bond. She was my best friend. I lived with her. So I was really having a hard time accepting this news, and I just wanted to spend every second I had left with her. My mom transitioned on August 10th, 2021. And the day before she passed, my sister and I were there with her. And before we left, she told us that she loved us. And at that point, it was very hard for her to talk. She couldn't eat, but she mustered up all the strength she had to say that to us. And while it was a sad moment, in retrospect, I really value that, and I hold on to that memory. All of this I remember so vividly, and even though I had tremendous support from my family and friends throughout, this was tough. My sister, my aunt, my dad, my cousins, everyone held each other down. All of my closest friends were there at any time of the day, dropped anything to help, let me stay with them so I wasn't home alone in the home that I shared with my mom, making me go out to dinner for my birthday, which was only 2 days after we first rushed her to the hospital to clear my head. I really could not have asked for a better support system, and honestly, I couldn't have thanked them enough. And with that being said, after all of this happened and my mom was laid to rest, life resumed. There is never enough time to really grieve because life goes on. But I was still dealing with this. I watched YouTube to try to find others who had gone through this or something similar to help me navigate this, and that was difficult to do. I was having a hard time connecting with someone. I did not find someone who was close in age to me. At the time I was 27, or someone who was just real and talking about how hurt they were, but instead I found others who were older than me. They had already done the work to navigate this. They claimed themselves to be healed, and or they were therapists, which I'm not against, but no one really talked about the hard work that immediately happens at the beginning that you have to get through as you figure out who you are and what life is about, or what life is like without that person that you lost. But my mom, she was literally the best. She was fiery. She was a social butterfly, God-fearing, selfless woman. She was hilarious without even trying, and she would always just say what was on her mind, even if she knew you didn't want to hear it. She believed that telling you the truth was a way of loving you, and she drew so many people to her because of that. She was always looking for ways that she can help others, comfort others, and really show them the love of God through her, even if it was the smallest act of kindness. And for that reason, I know with my whole heart that she would be absolutely in support and encouraging me to go on with this podcast because it can help someone, which is where my heart initially goes to when I think about what I want this podcast to be. But yep, this was the moment that changed everything for me, and I felt like I was just catapulted into this new dimension. Like I had no idea what grief really was going to feel like. So actually, let's get into that. What grief actually is and why it's so much more than we actually think. Because oftentimes when we hear the word grief, our minds just go straight to crying and the deep sadness. And while those are parts of it, grief is so much bigger and it's trickier than just those first raw feelings. It's not just one feeling. It's this huge, ever-changing place that you're in. It's not a straight line from here to there. It's more like a bumpy road with totally unexpected turns. You got some rain showers for the weather, some moments of sunshine. You're almost sometimes foggy where you can barely see what's right in front of you. Yeah, it's a whole body, whole mind, whole spirit type of thing, and it feels kind of weird, So let's just talk about some of the ways that grief can pop up beyond just the crying and the sadness. So firstly, you've got the physical side of grief. Have you ever felt the physical effects of grief? It's not just a heavy heart. It can truly feel like your body is saying no more, like I am at capacity. You might find yourself being super tired or totally wiped out, even after you've gotten like 8 or 9 hours of sleep, Your appetite might be totally disappearing, or maybe you're like me and you find yourself wanting all the comfort foods in a way you never did before. You got headaches, muscle aches, tummy aches that just don't go away, a literal ache in your chest that feels like someone is pressing on it like a heavy weight. These are all physical responses to grief, and they're super, super common. Your body is holding on to so much of the stress and the shock of what happened. It's physically dealing with that empty spot, that change, the sometimes overwhelming stuff. So if you are feeling strangely tired or just a bit unwell, remember that grief isn't just in your head. It's deeply rooted in your body. So be extra, extra gentle with your body during this time, just like you would tell your friend who isn't feeling well. Take care of yourself. Then you have the mental part of grief, which it can totally be confusing too. This is where the famous grief brain comes in. It sort of reminds me of like my friends with their kids, and they forget things a lot. They just aren't as focused, and they say, "Oh, my mom brain." Similar type of concept. Have you ever, walked into a room and then totally forgotten why you even went in there? Or have you lost your train of thought in the middle of talking? Or have you just felt like your brain was trudging through some thick mud, like it's hard to do any task or focus on anything? Well, That's grief brain at work. It's a real thing. Your ability to focus and to think clearly can really get messed up. Your memory can be foggy, and making even the simplest choices might feel just impossible or like a hard thing to do. Your brain is basically overloaded trying to deal with the huge amount of new, painful information while also trying to keep you safe and just functioning and getting by. It's sort of like your hard drive on your computer just is totally full and it starts to slow down and it can't really do much. That's pretty much what's happening. So give yourself a break here. Don't expect to be doing everything perfectly. Simple tasks might feel like climbing a mountain, and that's completely normal. And, then beyond the physical and the mental, grief often touches our spiritual. So you might find yourself questioning absolutely everything you once believed, your purpose, your whole point of life, your faith. You really start to take a close look at these things. Now, this isn't necessarily a bad thing. It can be a really deep chance to understand things better and to beautifully reshape how you see the world. But you can also feel incredibly confused, like the ground beneath you is just vanishing. You might feel disconnected from yourself a little bit, from other people, from God. And this is all part of the journey too. It's sort of like you're searching for new anchors because your other anchors have slipped away. Grief also has a way of messing with our friendships and our connections. Sometimes you might just really want to be around people and feel connected, while other times the very thought of being around anyone feels totally overwhelming, right? Friends might not know what to say, or you might feel like your grief is just too big or too messy for them to handle. I remember feeling like that. I didn't want to be the burden for my friends when I was sad, but this can make you feel super alone, which can be tough. It's like a delicate balance of trying to deal with these relationships when your heart is soft and tender. But remember, it's okay to set boundaries. It's okay to say no thank you when you need to, and to really look for people who truly see you in your grief and not just trying to fix it so you can be better or so they can feel better in your grief. And let's not forget about the changes in how you act. You might find yourself doing new things or just losing interest in stuff you used to love. Maybe you sleep way more or way less. You may pick up a new hobby or find comfort in your old routines. You might notice yourself being a bit more irritable or easily annoyed or pulling away or even surprisingly calm. But these are just all ways that your system is trying to cope and to get used to a new normal. The main thing here to remember is grief is not just sadness. Again, it's a whole body, whole person reaction to loss that touches every single part of you, your body, your mind, your spirit, your relationships, your actions. Understanding this can be so incredibly freeing, especially in the beginning. It makes sense of all those weird, unexpected feelings and sensations you might be having. It means that you're not crazy for feeling physically unwell or for forgetting simple things or for questioning everything. What it means is you are just simply, deeply, wonderfully grieving. The big idea of grief also gently hints at the amazing changes we'll explore in future episodes, because if grief touches every single part of you, then the healing and growing that can happen from it can also touch every single part of you. It's a big journey of change, one that can lead to deeper kindness, brand new ways of looking at things, and an incredibly strong heart. So for today, just sit with this idea. Grief is big. It's tricky, it's so much more than just tears, and understanding its many faces can really help you go through it with much more grace and kindness for yourself. You're walking through something huge, and every single step, feeling, struggle, every tiny flicker of light is part of your beautiful journey. Thank you again for tuning in to episode 2 of Whole Lotta Heart. Grief is messy and it's complicated and it looks different for everyone, but I hope that hearing a bit of my story helped you feel seen or maybe even named what you've been experiencing or carrying. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love for you to follow the show, leave a comment, or share it with someone who might need it too. Also, come say hello on Instagram at Whole Lotta Heart Pod. So this is just the beginning and we're figuring this out together with a whole lot of heart.